Chumden Dim Gombo Jahoraya La Jan Zalo Gango Lu Jimni Jimjani the Namdara Ser Jenye Dongal Jibja Zujerni the Garalawanda Ganda Tebi Zor Margamando the Maracheser Grozo Galawa Judarje Yala Duje and the Zom Dutraje Donio Monio Loli Jijo Domzat Margamazer Dungram Yaga Jania Chomta Rajanam Done the Johnson Jim the Zoyon the Lizo Jaje the work Chitrap Jadab Jani Janjim the Loma Zerjahora Land the Umara Bazana the Umara Bazana the Umara Bazana the Umara Bazana Umara Bazana the 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 Umara Bazana Umara Bazana the Tudun Jim Jero Zero Jim Dolo the Mambara Zani Guadam Damjo Jolo Domba Lodu Bubir Nova Jid Soro Yoji Jimbo Jordan Nimeja Zone Monum Jimbo Nabjat Pakara Dangam Zando Jamado Domba Dije Janla Chanzalo
Good evening to everyone. So we are going to begin with this evening's teaching now, and please, before we do so, everyone make an aspiration of bodhicitta.
Dombando Nanja, Shantar Nanja, they might be also Gumjam Nanja, Geva Kantang Kangjuna, Shanchip Simziate, Savanetita, Menanjukumari, Yinda Mandayo Gore.
So, bodhicitta is something that we can't afford to be without, regardless of what kind of virtuous and positive action we're engaging in, whether it be reciting mantra or doing prostrations or meditating. Bodhicitta is something we necessarily must have.
Tani shanchip ke simzeate yo tsarna yo sona, tani ti mangji ti tone ngaso gewa kangdang kangjibna takbachimbo gewa. Denis Rangla yang panto, Simjin Jambala yang panto, Simjin Samala pantoya, then this is
When we do have bodhicitta, or once we have bodhicitta, anything or any kind of positive action that we do upon this foundation will be of benefit to both self and to others.
Tani kardev shanchipji simte mena, tani ngatso partasala chigewa jachimbo. Or Lapchimbo, Tanjindapo, Dribna, Tini Tung, Kutola, Tini Geva Jachimbo Yongtum Kamari.
However, without bodhicitta, even though on the surface the activity that we are engaging in may seem to be extremely meritorious, in actual fact, it won't be.
Tani Shanchip Kasimziati, Kandizla Zegrezina, Shanchip Kasimziati, Tamja, Yana, Tini Susoranga, Tini Simtak Japa, Tini Tamja Nila. So
putting it very simply, bodhicitta is a vow made up of two parts.
Tani tamja nipo de kangre zena tangbo ngarangso tani gewa dribgoya tani gimtsun de kangre yenzena tani ngaranga tani simjin changma la tani simjin changma zena moschik bo mare tani tandrochik bo mare tani sinroa simjin changma re tani simjin changma la simjin yongzog la tani to pamba yongken ga tani lekaznge leg yenze simjin changma simjin tamchit tani korwa nane yara tarwa kirga nanchi dungurle tarwa tani zne shek yin samne tani tamja gore tati ngarang ga tata nipa yo nanda me nanda nge yinda manda simjin tamchit tani ta dungur meba tani dewa thoya tani zlange tani tam baba shek yin samne tani tamja kelin tamja simtak check gore te tangbore.
So the first vow is or reason for generating bodhicitta is to work for the benefit of all beings. And when we say all beings, we mean here just not just humans, and not just animals, but indeed all beings. And so this first part of the vow involves resolving to undertake beneficial action to assist beings in their liberation from the sufferings of cyclic existence. So it is this resolve or determination to undertake this beneficial action, regardless of what may be the case for the benefit of all beings, that comprises the first part of the vow.
Tene nipati tamja nipati kangrezena tene ngacho ta simjin changma tene dewa tang damba simjin changma dungur meba simjin tamchi tene kirgana ch khorwa na ne yar tharwa tindi drib gona te ngacho mi pharwaz ka te drib thub ko mare sijang drib thub ko mare te yenda tene yenda manda tene sangji gore te yendi sangji sona ngarang cho sangji sona tene simjin ko ton yen rambo la tene drib na drib thub gre te yendi 다 나랑 인담만다 되니 상지 고군도 삼네 나 나랑 같더니 니마 대랑니 나랑 상지와 쉬르도 상지와 치트 되니 나랑 그 개와 접기엔 나 인담만다 상지고 삼비 담자 대고래 대 담자 니바래.
The second part of the bodhicitta vow is, if we are going to work for the happiness of all beings and for their the relief of suffering for all beings, the liberation of all beings from the sufferings of cyclic existence, this is not work that an ordinary being can achieve. It's necessary in order to accomplish this work that we first attain Buddhahood, because if we were able to attain Buddhahood, then we would be able to work for the ongoing and long-range benefit of other beings. So the second part of the vow of bodhicitta is vowing to attain Buddhahood, and from this day onwards to undertake positive Dharma action in order to achieve this goal of Buddhahood for the sake of other beings.
어다 딘디 인디 담자데 ngacho tartane 담자 할레바 같더니 땅 잡고 딘디 요거나 각보래지 데 옛나 ngacho 때 tarta더니 다 딘디 담자 할레바 땅 잡고 딘디 메나양 다 나랑가 즉 소소랑 같더니 맞춘 시니 네 인담만다 딘디 삼고네 네 샹첩 그 셈더니 셈그 돌아 삼 어도모도 따고래 삼니 인담만다 딘디 같더니 삼로 담자데 딘디 랑그 길라 게 탑다 마탑
To generate an aspiration of bodhicitta that is extremely deep and extremely strong is rather difficult to start with. However, even if we're not able to do this to begin with, we really need to strive to see whether or not we can generate in our mind stream the desire or the intent, the resolve to work for the benefit of other beings and to attain Buddhahood in order to achieve this. So we really need to be diligent in generating this aspiration in our own minds.
Tanita ngaso kantar ngaso machizeyande tanita musla samlo tanape thongthongre machizeyade thongthongre tindi yindi machi thongthong tinala suso tanita charge yolgore tani ju mupa zena tani muir yolgore ta ngaranga machendo tani ngindi tondo tani machet kerkayin sambandrao tandigo samlozam machamala yolgore.
This life of ours, regardless of who it is very short. And because of this, in our short lives, it's necessary that we have a plan, we have a purpose, we have a goal. We need to have something that we are living this life for.
Chuzuk tondala, tondak kangshir the tinning at so much at the kirgore, not tiny naranga tsindi tola tinning at so tini muxumbushin in jithing kamlatini deaga, tini muirti kangin samni tini kangin samni suso rangla, kang shina gasare samni suso rangla dra gogore.
So, what is this purpose that we are living our lives for? while we are alive in this world, it's necessary that we turn our minds to this purpose. What is the best purpose or the greatest purpose that we could spend our lives working for? This is a question that everyone must put to themselves.
Teni karti tindi gtrab ko pine kabna pena ngarang teni khangba te chimbozuda teni langkhur teni yakboda teni tingi khanala teni gormo te teni sagya tindi z gtonda teni ngacho ngarang mache te kerk yin samni tindi samna teni te muir te halipa teni muir chungchung re.
If, in turning our minds to this question, we come up with the idea that actually we're living our lives in order to get a somewhat bigger apartment or to buy a somewhat nicer car or to save some money in the bank, if these are the purposes that we are living our lives for, these are goals of a very small and limited scope.
Teni soso mtsindi tola teni soso un soa kerwa te zamboda ngaso mi mai na teni perna chokchak jamba tenro khocho yang teni shithap kare soso rang teni soa kerwa zamse mo mai na jamba cho yo shithap ko yore.
Living one's life simply to survive or simply to satisfy the basic needs of existence is something that animals do too. So there is no great distinction here between these goals and how animals live out their lives.
Tani namgin nga chum changma tarta teni zambolang mang chi shu teni soso teni kable mambo jamne teni leka mambole teni trera mambo teni ta trera chimbore leka mambole teni shi go yare teni leka teni mambo leati chuzuk tondare zina tenga cho teni gormo saya ga tondare se mangchi shu de dere.
In the world today, many people work very hard. They expend a lot of energy. They spend their lives extremely busy in a constantly hectic state. And what is the reason that they engage in all this work for? In the majority of cases, it's in order to save and accumulate money.
Tani gormo tindi tini mambo tani sakgui gimsen te kangla thuyore zina sosola jina tani sansa sosogon chone sosogon chowa go shirtare chone go shirtare zegre.
And if we were to ask the question, why is it that people strive so hard to save and make and accumulate money, the answer would be in order to survive, in order to support their existences.
Tani tan chone te kang shirre zine tani trawa thamad nga so trgo gre.
Then this leads to a final question, and that is, what is it in respect of which that we are living out our existences? What is the goal of our survival?
Tani ti kapsa nga so land country jab go tani mi mambo ha ko yo mare.
However, it's in respect of this question that many people find themselves not being able to answer it.
Tani nga so leka tani mambo lego wi gimsen kang re zina tani nga so gormo sa ya che tere zete land se na jab shi gre te le la bore.
Of course, to say that the reason we work so hard is to make money is a very easy answer. Anyone can answer this question in this way.
Tani gormo tani sakgo wi gimsen kang re zina tani susun chone go shirre ze te yang land jab la bore te si yang me chama land tani jab gre te to la yang te re land jab gona te shigre te le la bore.
And it's similarly very easy then to answer the question of why it is that we we save and accumulate so much money. The answer, the reason that we do so is in order to support our existences, in order to have a livelihood. This is a very easy answer, a very obvious answer.
Tenin chone to kang to nda gre tan chone zina nga chu sombo tin ri to de go ya gimsen ja zina shengchun. Tani to chone nga chu tin ri shini de go wi gimsen de kang re nga chu sombo shini tin ri de go wi gimsen de kang re ze yong tani so me mambo z ko tani sar ka sam lo ta nga tin ri sombo shini ji thing ka kham la nga ta tan tin ri sombo de go ati gimsen ngoma de kang yin na samne so sar ka dang jab go ya tin ri zre.
Just the chukla yang jasone chokambola. Me mambu chis nge go maso.
Me mambo ta sar ka tani sam lo tang go ya tin ri zre.
Oh yeah. if we save so much money in order for our survival, then there comes the question again of why it is that we indeed are surviving. Why is it that we are existing? This is not a question, however, that many people are able to answer.
Tani nga chun choni tila tani muir jambaz yogo re ma to bang karte nga chun choni tila muir jamba chi me nga chun choni go shirje tele jamba yo mare tini zena tani nga chun munam jin choni la tani muir me pa tong ko tola muir me pa tani ta cha songare muir me pa ker songare.
So if the answer to this question is the reason that we need to survive, that we lead our existences, or the reason or the purpose of survival is survival, then this is ultimately not an answer that reflects a purposeful life. It's necessary that in addition to simply survival, in addition to simply surviving, that we have an additional or higher purpose.
Tenin soni la tini nga sotan tini muir me pare sona tini tong tola nga chum machi tongban ra ur machi tongzen jabu ma to ba jamba yo mare
Kunda kembo yangya sona chok.
Tin soni la muir me pare sona tini nga chum machi te tongzat ma to ba jamba yo mare machi te tongba zan ro re.
So dange kondange ya poko maso.
Soni la nyang kartin soni la muir mena soni zena kowa.
Ko.
Jaga shengchun. Tani soni te la karte tini nyambo me pa muir me pa resona tini machi tongzat machi te tongba zan ro re machi tondak me ba chang ro re.
So if we have no further purpose in our existences, then our existences become empty. They become without meaning.
Tani nga so tam nga so machi ti na la nga chun chone ge nyangbo de kari yin samne kanri shina ga sare samne tani samlo tangna tani nga so gin rangbo la samlo ma tani thong la samlo tangna tani nga so samlo tang ya mambo yo re nga la khangba chimbo yo na ya yak bore nga la langkhor yak boz kor yo na ya yak bore nga rang gormo mambo yo na ya yak bore te so chama ya nga rang la go ndik samne nga so ti chu thong ka na la dang jabna tani go ya mambo yo re.
In terms of this question about how it is that we are to live this life, if we confine our thinking to the short term, then there are all kinds of things that we can imagine we need, such as a bigger apartment, a car, money in the bank, etc. When we are focusing on the short term, it seems very much that we need all these things.
Si rangbu la samlo tang yana kewa shima da otendi tisu rangbu la samlo tang na tani nga zong khangba yo pa tang langkhor yo pa tang gormo te yo pa chi bo yong yo mare tarong yang nga chola goya mambo yo re.
However, if we extend our consideration of life to a more longer range, one that encompasses future lives, then apartments and cars and money in the bank cease to be so relevant, and that there then appears to be many further things in addition to this that we actually do need.
Teni nga chu yin rambola yin ta manda samlo tango re chi nga chu yin ta manda yin rambola samlo tango re ma to ba nga chu teni yin rambo machi ya ti yin rambo yo mare cheshi re teni phanchi yo mare kya shima yo mare sam de ya ti ngune ta ne nga chu norwas re.
So it is actually very essential that we do think in this long-range way, that we do contemplate our life in a more extended, long-range fashion, to simply think that this life is the only one we have and that there are no future existences beyond this one is very much mistaken.
Teni norwa nga chu la norwa tindi yo pate hale ya chi yo mare nga chu la tindi norwa mampu yo re nga chu ro mi ru logic tola tindi norwa mampo zo tindi te nga chu go tindi noncher tindi mampo zo khar myong are zi noncher mampo yo are zi tar nga ena.
However, that we are mistaken, or that we have a mistaken ideas about this, is not particularly surprising. Over the course of human history, humans have had mistaken ideas and mistaken conceptions about all manner of things.
Tani pe jana nga chu tani roa mi ru ka tani lo chap chak mambo ga rang la nga chu tani country sam ga ru na sa ko lan da level yin samne mi chama ga nga ma ni ta ga war ta nga chu mi chama nga ma ni ta lo ja chak kha shi ga kong ga war ta lo chap chak mambo ga rang la mi chama ga tin di sam yo re.
One such example is the belief that the earth was flat. This was a belief that was held by humans for many thousands and 10,000s of years.
Tani te norwa yimba ti tarta nga so sar ga ha ko yo re tini te na ti norwa ta condition wa re.
So that this idea was mistaken is something we now know, but how was it that this mistaken conception came about?
Ti norwa ti pe na nga so musjigla musjig tini lipogum thotsalla tani musjig tang karma dunchi tani yongkhang ga muzg pe na yana tini thang sa thang ra tini thang chenbo yana tani jamcho tini thom so o tani sik thola par ni partana nga su tini thongya ti ka rin thonggo yo re nga so parla ta na tani mo tani tongchak jita tugyan shi sabgit tani nga zum thonggo yo re ti suncho ti nga zum thonggo re ti pancho ti nga zum muk thongthop ko yo ma re.
다 같이 통톱기를 가보라.
아.
같이 통톱기를.
뭐 동작 지다 적야.
Oh yeah.
니시 sabgit.
Let's say. The reason for this was that a person of approximately 1.7 meters in height, standing on a flat surface, such as a flat plateau or by the side of the ocean, looking in any direction, can only see for a distance of 4.6 kilometers.
Teni ti panchula nga chum thong mathe pi gemsen ti kang rezena nga chu sakola ti lolo ena di gyapti nga chum thong thop ko yamare.
And the reason that we are not able to see beyond this is because of the Earth's spherical shape.
Teni nga chum thongati teni mo tongchak jita jigya da lagzari ti nangte nga chum mukam thongati nga chum thong deati ta nga chum mukata na lebre.
But that which we can see, this 4.6 kilometers, appears to us as flat.
Teni mo tongchak chikta teni tongchak jita jigya ga panchula sona teni shertang sakola lolo reta yina te nga chu shitap ko yamare nga chu mukata sa te lebre mukam thongsati ngon latana lebre jab latana lebre teni ye latana yon latana chama lebre.
So anything beyond this 4.6 kilometers is not something that we're able to see, even though it's spherical in nature, because that which we can see within this 4.6 kilometers appears to be flat, regardless of what direction we look, whether it's in front of us or behind us or towards or to our left or right. We assumed everything to be flat.
Teni mutongchak jita teni jigya panchul la teni na sona kade nga chu tin sam la sona yon ti ngol la ta na yang teni lebre nga chu counter kang la sona ngol la sona jab la sona kang la sona nga chu nam yang nga chu teni mukum thoya te mutongchak jigda tongchak jita jigya la zon thong yo re te nga chu nam thong na yang leble kyang ba ma to ba teni lolo teni jigunda o ta teni polo da o teni nga chu thong yo ma re.
And regardless of where human beings went, they would only be able to see a radius of 4.6 kilometers to either side of them, and this expanse would appear to be flat. Nothing that they would see would seem to be spherical.
Tini ti gimsen tila tini ta nga chogo tini munam ko tini lo chachak mambo gorang la o ta sakola libre zini tini tini go kosogo domsik o tini jagyore te gimsen chi chi yamare nga chogo mukata na libre yam bata ti phargipti korang ka condition ha ko yamare korang kam thong desa to libre tini gimsen tila tini o libre zini tini shayore.
However, so for this reason, for tens of thousands of years, humans had come to the conclusion, believed that the Earth was flat in nature. There was no other reason for this aside from the fact that wherever they went and whichever direction they looked, the world appeared to be flat.
Tani nga chogo kiwa ngama yo mari kiwa shima yo mari samdeya te ti gimsen te tang chikpa chikyang res.
And the reason that people believe that past and future lives don't exist is the same as this.
Tani pena nga so moschik tani matse chikanala lo gyanda o tindi tani thabna pena tarta nga so tani lo ngapchin o tindi zina tani ngi yarndang jamna tani ta lo ngapchi thambate shig yore ti kongla kandizin tani ngi hago yo mare kewa ngama ngi tang yo mare tani maung balang indang jamna ta tarung nga lo ngapchi o tindi zla degre samne te nga so chokhak chi tab gare ti jini ra kandizin te hago yo mare shig yo mare lo ngapchi kongla shig yo mare lo ngapchi gogla shig yo mare tini ki nang tela tini hago yo re tini te indi ti yarne marne yana tini jag kongda ti lo ngapchi kongda ngapchi gote nga cho hago yo mare tini makoti tini nga cho o yo mare tini yo mare zine tini seg yo re.
So if we were to take a human lifespan as being, say, 100 years, then a person at 50 years of age would be able to reflect or remember back over 50 years of existence. They would also be able to project a further 50 years into the future. But either side of this, they are not able to know. They're not able to go back further than the first 50 years of their existence, and they're not able to know beyond the latter 50 years of their existence too. So based on this ability not to, or this lack of ability to know further in either direction, people come to the conclusion that this lifetime is the only one we have.
Ota tindin zma to ba gimchen tili chi yo mare ta menayang tini nga chu tini gimchen menayang tini nga so o ta ti yo mare ti ola yo mare ti ngola yo mare ta nga chu machhe ya tin dindi ge pe na tini lo ja thamba ro ta dindi zire ti ngola yo mare ti jila yo mare sam ni tindi sam ge yore tindi shya ge yore re ti tindi sam go ya ta shya go ya ge gimchen ngo ma ti kang re ze yo na te chi yo mare ti nga chu ti yan chu ti nga sun thong go yo mare ti man chu ti nga chun thong go yo mare nga chum thongyati tini lo gyanda bo tini zkan nang tere o te yindi ti gimchen chupo la tene tini nga cho o ta macheziyate ti lo gyabo ti nang ma to tini yari yo mare mari yo mare zine gimchen tinjiz ma to chichi yo mare.
So it is for this reason that many people claim that there is no existence beyond this existence, current existence of ours, this 100 years, say, of existence that we currently have. People don't accept that there is anything before this or anything after this. However, it's there's in fact no real reason for them thinking this way and making these kinds of claims, except for the fact that they're not able to know, they're not able to see beyond this 100 years of existence. This is the sole reason for them claiming in this way.
Tangbo nga so kia nga wayo mare, shimayo mare sambati lihlapo zika thone nga so tini samsir halipa ga tini lihlapo tabdipo zika thone shungwi tini nonchar tini ziyambate thomara nga so hako gore.
So it's important that we first appreciate that this idea that past and future lives don't exist is a rather simplistic mistake that we have come to.
Teni te indi nga so te jang rangbu la samlo tane ota nga so mchin da tang teni yang mchi jamba kewa shima tang teni yang kewa shima se teni goni samlo zo tang yong di teni nga so la goya te teni gormo ta khangba ta teni langkhor ta teni chupo mayim ba tarong jamba yang teni goya yore te yo ati nga so ha ko yong gore.
So if we go beyond this kind of simplistic reasoning and take a more long-range view of our existence, one that takes into account future lives, then things like apartments and cars and money in the bank are not things that we are really in need of.
Tani tanga sola goyang umati kang go yore zena tani nangchu ra yinna nangchu inna tani namba sanji pa yinna tani jiktim shepa poti Korang chogo tini khilenga yo mare, tini jiktim shepa poti khilenga lenga mare, tini chama tini nga cho tarta teni korang ge gidang kin la teni teni ngupon so tamje pon jung yore ma to ba teni jitin shi ba po teni shijak ban ra teni de nangchu keleng ge mare.
So what is it then that we are really in need of? Well, Buddhism doesn't accept the existence of a creator God. According to Buddhism, phenomena come into existence through relationships of cause and effect.
Tendi yendi nga so teni ngupon so tamje bo teni nzambo lang da teni gedang ken la teni shongbaz rema to ba jemme pa kemme pa toni shongbaz mare. Teni nzambo lang teli chiwi wan de shina nga chun jikting ge kamde yang gedang ken la teni shongbaz rema to jemme pa kemme pa mare. Teni chongchong ga wan de shina nga chun metok chongchong chi yena te korang ge gedang korang la teni shongbaz rema to ba teni korang ge gete me kende me na teni yong tab ge mare.
So everything in the world comes about through relationships of cause and effect, whether it be large things in the world or even small things like a flower. Flowers too come into existence through processes of cause and effect, cause and result.
Tendi yendi teni chamar gekil la teni shomba yendi teni ngacho jedang kende kangre ngacho terang me chama korwa nanglang korne kamsum korwa nanglang korne ngarangcho teni ki mando na ki gore teni na mando na gore ge mando na ge gore shim mando na shi gore teni kamsum korwa nangla teni korlong korwa rawo teni shi gowi gim te gimsung kare jena teni tela ge yore te jekin te tambo hako gore.
So in terms of cyclic existence, none of us have a desire to undergo the sufferings of birth, but inevitably we still have to undergo them. None of us want to experience the suffering of illness, and yet we inevitably have to face this. Same too with the sufferings of aging and the sufferings of death. None of these are sufferings we want to encounter, and yet we inevitably encounter them. So the fact that we remain cycling in cyclic existence is something that is also underpinned by a causal factor, and the causal reason for our continued presence in cyclic existence is something that we need to have a clear understanding of.
Tendi yendi pena nga chung korwa nga la teni korlong konkor shine teni korna teni korlong korna teni korlo di tangbo korang ge gershik te kangyem ba teni targo ore se gershik zena ko ba
ko
ya gershik te kangyem teni targo ore se thomi gershik tangbo te kangne shong te nga cho targo ore.
So that we are still spinning in cyclic existence. In order to understand the reason for this, we need to first understand what is the primal force or the primal energy that underpins this situation.
Teni korwanda ngacho gon teni kamsum korwanda gangdizre jena ngacho penna sakola tawzre teni sakolandela ni nyenkor la yo piteni ti ngupo kangtang kaona teni korang hongsona teni kozo chama sakolandi thola sar teni tagal hong gore se pena ngacho sakola ga teni nyen din thakalandi ni kora jamnin rodeng keng teni pena mizu jerker zena ko ba renzao weishin ya teni mizu jerker teni thakala teni korni mambo ro de ore pena koso ena teni korwi teni koso karte mangkorna sama sakola thola saratini long gore te na sakola ziate te sama teni saran tenshik teni chimboyo ba teni zires ten rapos ko teni ngacho korwazi gen kamsum ko korwazi ya te teni tenshik chimboyo kenjare ngacho mi sama yana teni ore ta teni zena chokonto pena yana ta ngacho mu sama yenanda yana simchen sama de teni korwaga nala par teni shit chimbozo ko teni korwaga nala tani para tendo yore.
So the three realms of cyclic existence are like the earth. In terms of the earth, it has a very strong power, or it's characterized by a very strong pulling force that pulls all things back to its core. So satellites and other objects that circle around it, if they stop circling, then they are pulled back by the force of gravity to the Earth's core. So we can say that a similar force keeps sucking or pulling human beings and indeed all living beings back into cyclic existence.
Teni ngachu simchen tamchu poteni to ta khorwa ga nala teni partin tin ni teni khorwa ga thola teni par khorwa tang capture mathapa o tenji ga teni tin nipa ti o teni ga teni shit ti teni kangre ti shishik nipa ti gangli shongwa re ngachu tangbo ti ta go re.
So what we first need to look at is, what is it? What is this force or this power that pulls us into cyclic existence, that which prevents us from being separated from, or separating ourselves from cyclic existence? The first thing we need to understand is the nature of this power or force.
Teni tinti inti ngachu to ti thola parteni mjar royate ta ngachu samlo tana perna sakola de khorang tenshik chimbo imbi top koteni themba jinda khorwa de tinti gon tenshik chimbo re ngachu ti thola par tenro ndu samni ngachu khorwa ga nala teni tenro ndu ngachu khorwa tang capture tap kumand tinti sam ge ores rete chung omati teni khorwa ngachu par tenro yo mare ngachu gon teni khorwa tilan jini teni lakpa ga tong yo mare.
就是的，举例按照说那就可不了。
teni sakola ga teni ngachu teni thinni teri mare ngachu ngarang chu rang sakola tila sakola ma tang khorwa tila jini lakpa ga jini teni ma tang wan ra ore je ngachu khorwa la par tini jego yo ma tong khorwa ga ngachu la srin jego yo mare.
Even though it seems to us, however, that there is some kind of power or force that's drawing us into cyclic existence and prevents us from being separated from it, in actual fact, what is really taking place is we are clinging to cyclic existence, and it is our clinging to cyclic existence that prevents us from being separate from it.
Teni perna bu chong chong cho teni simo ya teni show ga teni shandra bole ni namkala tangwa ja ga fongjang namkala teni tangwa te teni kapaz go ni namkala ro yo re teni khorang namkala kanjin thombon ro na ya teni thama teni yang mar satola mar teni mog mar thenyong go re tin thenyong bi gimchen te kang re jina khorang la teni kapa kapa te mi lagnang la yo re ti thapa te mi lagnang na yo re ti gimchen ji teni show go shandra bote teni namkala jangrang polan ro na ya thama ko mari yongwa mato pateni tapshi yo mare te bi gimsen te mi lagna tini kupati mi lagna yo bi gimsen gires.
So young children often play with kites, and they fly these kites high into the sky. Regardless of how high the kite might fly into the sky, however, ultimately it is always pulled back. And the reason that it is pulled back is because it has a string attached to it, and importantly, because this string is held in a human hand. It's on account of the string being held in a human hand that the kite is always drawn back.
Tani tanga cho tini benna namkala tongya ga tini shandra poti thapati mi lagna yoti tini ko partini rothop ko mare karti thapati jevjagna tini khorang namkha la tini rawang ga tini kyangbo landro re.
So whether it be a kite or a bird that has a rope or a string attached to it, so long as the string is attached, it's not able to fly far. However, if we cut that string, then the object in question is able to fly very far into the sky. So we need to have a good understanding or a correct understanding of this string, the nature of the string. if we use an example or an illustration, it's possible for us to gain easily an understanding of this.
베이작나 나초 멀음 그 값스 되는 나초 멀음 미위 값스 되는 멀음 그 나라 멀음 그 나라 되는 무스 그 되는 크마가 나라 코랑 그 크마가 나라 골모드사 크마가 나라 되는 아메리카 골모 측치 요바딩인 통 되는 통송 되는 통네 되는 나 코랑 그 되는 크마가 나라 되는 락바 잡니 되는 금마가사 송나 금마 잡사 송나 되는 금마 잡사 송 Teni kema jabsa soni mi jamba ga teni nyetok bagam thongni teni ngarang chumkhang na la teni longsong wa teni mina se nge malum kana teni mina teni ti kapsa teni ngarang teni kema jabsa la soni teni chumkhang na la long rowi jimsen ti kang re zeni tana teni ti thone nga cho ha ko yang khorwa ga na la nga chong khorya te yang kangin ha ko re.
So if we were to use the example of a dream that we are having in which we see someone with a bag and in this bag is, say, 10,000 American dollars, and having seen this money, we stick out our hand to steal it, and in doing so, someone sees us, informs the police, we are caught and put in prison. So in looking at the reason for us being caught and put in prison, it's possible for us to understand the nature of the string.
Tela Jimson karin duk sam gandu si choso samna Jimson karin duk si tin ti kaps nge mulum ko kaps tani mulum ko kaps tani nge gormom thong tani ngarang soni ke ni tani ta nyetok ba zone tani chamkhang la thong soni tini ga mulum mina ti mulum nge tini khorang tini mulum ga nala kama jamne tani chamkhang la thong rowi Jimson kajin duk sam gandu.
So what does everyone think about this dream in which we see money, we steal it, we get seen, then we end up getting put in prison? What does everyone think is the reason for us ultimately being put in prison? Yeah, what is the main reason that we
te ngarang ka te ke nge kema jabi Jimson cheres nge kema jabi Jimson te cheres am dos te Jimson kajin dos tinala.
How many reasons do you think there are that we steal this money in the dream?
Kajin dos am.
How many reasons does everyone think there are?
How
many reasons does everyone think there is? So in the dream that I steal the money, I go to steal the money, what is the reason? How many reasons are there that I do this in my dream? Anila deni gümzen jiyor ise.
One reason, desire, dress.
Döchak, zimba.
Yeah, döchak. Yeah. Three indexes, jamba chozena.
Yes, desire. Is there anything else in addition to this?
Ignorance.
Niko dumik marikzi. Marikba.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
Failure to recognize the dream as a dream.
Da milam dana deni milam dangi guz deni ngodzin yang dapa yo mare di gümzen gu.
Chaza.
Di danga tata milam migi use deni ngodzin maybe gümzen res.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Devi?
Anything else?
He was in a state of delusion.
Reta deni guma gyaptu deni nyomang hajon deni chokpa gyedu.
Nyomong ba jeba.
Re dim deni trouble you begins.
Yeah. Trina. Yeah. Yeah, ta ya bore song se. Sama mambo song deni ne shudum che ge yin se. Oh yeah, yeah.
And stillness
그래서 되니 그 되니 니스 다와 요레스.
Nista. Yeah. Terje. Yeah. That in the Indi. Yeah.
So my son got kidnapped, and I had to steal the money to pay the ransom.
What happened to your son?
He got kidnapped.
Then milum mukun ko then bu then mishembu bu then guma gyaptani then ko kamba ka then kanla then dribi gumzun ko mishembu gumo then guma gyapgo.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it. Somehow song. Shordum thing that's a shortchik the dumge, shordum jigdum zingeshina. Thing te so somehow the landjapating shordum shine the nichik zegens.
So what everyone has said, they're all good reasons, and I'm going to bring them all together and make a conclusion.
Then I thought somehow some laws tanda tambo. Ni ngarang ka mulum magayo ati ngi hamako ares.
The yangyasone chok.
Tambo ngarang ka ngi mulum tangayo ngi mulum magayo ati ngarang ka hamako are ngi kwarang ka kumaga nala argur chachigi opran thwati ngi mulum yimba hamako are.
So first of all, that we don't know that we are dreaming. Is this the case?
Kati ngi mulum yimba hako sona ngi ko ares.
If I knew that I was dreaming, would I still steal the money?
Yeah, there is it. Koranga marg pares songazi.
This person over here said that it was due to ignorance.
Yeah, there is.
And that's also the case.
Marg paziati koranga tini ngi mulum ndi gormote argur ngoma mare ti mulum ga argur re sambate ko sona ngi lak pakyang mare.
The reason being that we didn't know, we didn't understand that the money was in fact only dream money, thinking that it was real American money, American dollars. We stuck out our hand to steal it.
Teindi zawang umate ngi mako ate jena marg pazna tamgris.
But the basis of this is not understanding, and the underpinning of this not understanding is ignorance. And someone else said delusion. And this is also one of the reasons that we didn't understand that we were dreaming.
Yeah. Then nipati also kunkusong susorang lan dopayo bigim senjirezi terezi pena mulum yenayang teni nge tambo ngarang te gormote ngarang mulum yemba hamago teni di jis teni ngarang lan dopa kiware karti mulum yemba hamago nayang ngarang lan dopa mena yang ngelak pakyang kemarin
di jukla yangja sona chok
karti mulum yemba te hamago nayang ngarang lan dopa mena ngarang la gormote lan dopa mena ngelak pa nyap kemarin. Oh, yeah.
And then over here it was said that the reason was desire. It's true that to begin with we don't or didn't understand that we were dreaming, and then after this we gave rise to desire. However, even if we didn't understand that we were dreaming, if we had not given rise to desire, then we wouldn't have stolen the money.
Tani ta jemsen tini po la tini nge ta mulum gugumo la tini kema jabares.
So there are essentially two reasons then that we stole the money in the dream.
Tani mulum go tini chumdangarwa shini, tani mulum go chumkanala longbare.
The yangyasone chokambola.
Mulum go chumdangarni, tini mulum go chumkanala longbare. The tagoso. The mulum go nala, chumgrishi song, mulum go nala. Ngaco nyimber kemajamna chumgerre malam kenala kemajamna malam ke chumdanggarwari malam kenang ke chumgerre tini malam ke chumkanala longbarese.
So by committing illegal dreamlike behavior, we wound ourselves up in a dreamlike prison.
Oh yeah, tini ta nga ngacho tarta ngacho khorwa nganalang khor dewi gimsende ti ngni rezi ni ma to yo mare.
So these are the two reasons, in fact, that we are still in cyclic existence, no two beyond these.
Teni tondak tambo ti ngacho njiktin de countries gin hako yo mare.
The first of these is that we don't understand the nature of cyclic existence of this world.
Teni ngacho susu rang chin countries gin ngacho hako yo mare.
And the second reason that we don't understand ourselves, the nature of ourselves.
Teni te mashi pati thokla teni ta ngacho ndopa chimbozi yang yores.
And in addition to not understanding these two things, we give rise to desire.
Te indi tini ngacho khorwa ga nangla khorwa ga ngacho khorwi nanglan ten songwa mare je. Ngarang cho khorwa la par thamni teni khorwa ga ngacho ma tangwa mare je. Ngacho khorwa ma tangwa re je. Tazena ko.
Yeah, go. So in actual fact, it's not cyclic existence that is pulling or drawing us into it. Rather, it's us who is clinging very tightly to cyclic existence.
Oh yeah. Te indi tini ngacho tini ta tari ngacho perna bu chong chong ke mo cha ga shok sha ga tini kapa rabo de tini chat go re chapati ta kan rezina ti ni te rezi te ni ka ti tini cha jagna tini ngacho tini shok sha ti tini nam ki khamla ko kangnan ro na ro chokore.
So it's just like the kite that a child is flying. If we were to cut the string connecting it, then the kite would be able to fly far into the sky.
Oh yeah, tini ta ngacho tambo tini music na perna napa tini napa ze tini mangkhang ga nala tini manla tonsa sona tini mangkhang chongchong zina mangkhang chongchong tini gan mangkhar khen ke tini mangkhang tin zina kyarong lamsang tini kyarong la manja mambo chagres.
So if an ill person were to go to a hospital, a small hospital where the medical staff didn't carry out their responsibilities properly, then the sick person would be given all kinds of medication to begin with.
Ta mangkang chongchong ze na chenbo da chongchong ko tondak ziyang mare ze zo te mamba khorang gem mangkhar khen tin zina tini khorang na te kang ma ko na yang na ka tsawa ngoma te kang ma ko na ta kangshong mangshong la matra man tini chakres.
It's actually not a question of the size of the hospital. It's really to do with whether or not the doctor in question is undertaking their responsibilities properly. If they don't understand or identify the key cause or root of the illness, then they will prescribe all kinds of random medication.
Tani mamba ngam khen tani mangkang chatang damba tini zina tani lamsang tani man track mare zita chorang na ti condition je jimchen kang la tani napa je naware zene tani takshit mambo shine tani ti jis ta zo tani man chakre.
However, if the doctor in question was a responsible doctor or a proper doctor, then they wouldn't prescribe medication or immediately. They would first attempt to gain an understanding about how it was the illness came about, what the reasons for the illness were. They would undertake a lot of examination and investigation to get to the bottom of it.
Otin rabo indi tini ngacho tambo ngacho khorwa na lang khoryo pati gimchen de kang re samne ngacho yang da tini samlo tang go re ngacho khorwa na lang khor pe na ngacho tini khorwa di na la mambo yin rambo khor ge re te yin na ngacho khorwa da khatar ni tini ro thup ko ya mare tini ro mathav na tini mathapi tini gimchen de kang re kale tani yin rambo la tini takshishi na tini ngacho ha ko yong re.
So just like this, it's important for us to contemplate again and again what the reasons are for us constantly cycling in cyclic existence for such a long time. What is it, or why is it that we have not been able to escape cyclic existence, to separate ourselves from it? This is something that we need to examine very deeply.
Oh yeah. Tini te tang rapo tarong chi yores penanga cho tini 这个重重的你这个人呀个的你想立的这是要的，这就让做哈个哎哟。
And by examining, by really contemplating this time and time over again, it's possible for us to understand the reason that we are stuck in cyclic existence. There's a type of mousetrap for catching mice. I don't know whether or not you're aware of this kind of mousetrap. Yes, it's a sticky mouse trap that catches mice with its adhesive surface. Does everyone know about, or has everyone heard of this kind of mouse trap?
Oh, yeah. Then it did Gandhi then it Zungu yours in that then Shanglip, then the Shanglip Chonchon yours. Then he Shanglip Titola, then it the Shin, then a Chow Shui in a Goa, then it Titola Shin, then it then Jardoya, then is Titola, then it Goyores, Titola. Then it Titola Zama Chonchon Jariore, then it Zuka Yoni, then it is Zamachin Zadi, then it Titola Jandore.
So what this mousetrap is, it's basically a base, a board of thin wood, and on top of this base is glue, and then there's a small piece of food placed on top of this, and then this attracts the mice who goes onto the sticky surface.
Yeah, 당아서 대란당식 잡고르지 베나 샹립 총총 디토라 되니 디토라 샤 총총스 되니 유자요스 되니 디토라 되니 코람 잔로야가 되니 되니 신 디토라 되니 거요스 되니 디토라 되니 신 유자요나 되니 디 코람 실로가 되니 긴치그레지 실로가 되니 차긴치그레지 되니 당아 베나 나랑 초 되니 저거 되니 옛나 나추 통니 되니 차긴 가추 상나 가추 디토라 잔로 그레지 삼로 땅고 그레지.
So if we imagine a mousetrap with its sticky surface and a particle or a piece of meat on top of it, we can see that this is one condition for the mouse going onto the mousetrap. However, if we think of ourselves as mice, what other conditions would have to be in place in order for us actually to go onto its surface? Everyone think about this and please tell me your answers. Has anyone used this kind of mousetrap before?
No. Yeah. Tapi tang manyung nayang, then this don't go yours. If you not take up sitting it at Zagati, Koranti Tolason is Amazana, then Koram Jandro, then Jandrona, Zug Koranga Tony, then he Justin Katsango, the Koranti Tolam Jan is Shundrogona.
So even if we haven't used it, still we can think about this and think about why it is, or how many reasons or conditions need to be in place for the mouse to go onto the mousetrap, get stuck there and die as a result. Do you have an opinion about this? Maranka samna yan dochak ki gyumzen rezes.
Yan dochak, yeah. Dele jamba? Oh, yeah.
If the mouse was using their five senses and smelled the meat, and then the desire would rise, and see the meat, recognize that it's meat, and we go because they didn't see it. Just using the five senses to recognize the meat and having the desire arise then.
Yeah, tambo deni mik deni da shat deni da tongi yore di jis deni shak chiwa yang deni nu yore deni di jis deni tila deni di do chak gebres.
Yeah. Tarung undux jampatso.
Anything else in addition to these reasons?
It's a causal impact. That's a stress.
Dadi gutan rebore?
Yeah. Yeah. 인고. Yeah.
Also, of course, ignorance that there's sticky things there, attachment to the food, but also aversion to being hungry.
Yeah, deni marik bare. Tambo deni zigu ko deni shinlup deni chizu deni nyenye imbi deni nyenye indi deni ko hako yo mare. Deni marik bare. Deni yang deni ko sidan deni po tokpa de ko hajong deni gaga mare tangi yo. Na di indi yang marik ba dan shetang kim zini yo re.
Yeah, very good. Tele eyos.
In what else in addition to this?
I think that because we, all of the sector being, don't realize the absolute reality, and all of us is run after some of relative reality. That this is they can to manage our sense, manage our design, everything. That's why we go to enter inside and be managed by the three poison. And for this, for the reason the three poison to manage people that we get along with them. If we realize like our master and our the Buddha and Bodhisattva, what is the reality absolute? We are not like this. We are not to run after the relative reality.
Yeah, deni di zo nga zo ke deni sim ke deni tuk sum da nga zo ke deni dochak chuzun shimi tupi gymzen ke nga zo deni tatu ke deni demba deni ha ma go wi gymzen ke deni di shala deni shinle ki thola deni rojin yuze.
Yeah. Yeah. It is, yeah.
The mouse might have set a trap to kill something in a previous life.
Yeah, deni da jip shena deni gewa ngoma yana deni zikuta yang deni simjin shenba yang seberesis.
Yeah.
As a mouse, there's no potential to have the view of emptiness.
Deni ziku jikin bachana dongbani ki dawa yang ge tupi mare.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The mouse doesn't understand or appreciate the potential dangers of the trap, even though there's an enticement from the food.
Yeah, deni zikuta deni shinlu deni yarnrona deni nyinka yubata hako yo mare.
Yeah. That is nga so mambo teni lan japsong teni ta nga so lan te so changma teni shodum shige yensi.
So again, everyone has provided many answers, and we are going to draw them together and make some conclusions.
Jizi tambo kieranga zeya teda kongyang te zeso andara trabazin de teda morang zeya tere tambo zikati ndi thola tini korang di thola kamba chi pojana ndi thola njarnro ya tini ayo mayo korang hako yo mares.
So the first point, as was mentioned over here and over here as well, was that the mice didn't understand that in going onto the mousetrap, it would become stuck.
Kartiti kaps zikandi nala tini shatim tone korang za hajang tini za samgari ina ti kaps ti thola kamba pona korang njarnro wa ti shina korang ti thola kamba po aris.
Even if the mouse had seen the meat and smelled the meat and really, really wanted to eat it, if it knew that in going onto the top of the mousetrap it would become stuck, would it still have gone onto the mousetrap? So, deni tokse de hajong po hajong tok dang deni tok chung nyonyo pechitila deni dikshena darong deni drone tangses.
Korang ndi tola kamba chi ponam jani shinrowati shina hajang tona upos.
So if it knew that in getting stuck on the surface it would die, do you think that it would still go even if it was extremely hungry?
No. Yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah.
하정 부어 똑 바이나 데니 직신의 다롱 데니 신라 그토라 데니 조시그레스.
Yeah. Nostra 나탕다 시당 그런 것들이 마고이 김승기티 돌아보고요레스.
Yes, that is possible, but generally speaking, we could say that it's because the mouse didn't understand that it would get stuck, that it ventured onto the top of the mousetrap.
드니 즈그 제라티 코 하정 추루와 김보레지. 디 그런 거 고소나 자바니 보고 말이지.
Mouse in general are extremely sensitive creatures, and if it had have known that it would get stuck by going onto the mousetrap, it wouldn't have done so.
야, 저거 있나 드니 그랑 샤디즈 자니도 만디 돌아치 보나가 신로레다 시마시미 네테즈 자는 더 그런 거 삼삼 말에 그런 거양 디톨라 보나 신로와디 시나드니 그랑 잠바즈란조니 마시와디 자자 라마라 파치 타사레스.
So if the mouse had known that in going onto the mousetrap that it would die, even if it really wanted to eat the piece of meat, knowing that in going onto the mousetrap it would die, it would think of some other way to get hold of some meat in a way that didn't involve dying.
근데 인디 돈딱 당보디 코랑근디 돌아보나더니 코랑디 돌란지르니 드니 신로레 삼바디 고요 말에 데 돈딱 당보 나돈 치슈디 데레.
So the first really important point is that the mouse didn't understand or didn't know that in going onto the mousetrap it would get stuck and die.
Teni nipati korang ke sem ganala di shat jongzu yo batim thoni di shadilan do pa ke yore tirize karte korang shalan do pa mena korang ke tim maku nan di tholam jarna tini kamba ponan janru wate maku na karte do pa tim mena korang di thola pogo gimsin chi yo mare pogo mare.
And then the second reason was, as mentioned, the desire of the mouse. Without desire, the mouse wouldn't have ventured onto the mousetrap. So even if it didn't understand and didn't know that the mousetrap was sticky and that in going onto it it would get stuck, without desire, then it wouldn't have had a reason to go onto it at all.
Tindi gimsen tini la tini Gimsen tini la tini teni zegen di tholan jarni teni tamako khsongware ti khsongwati la gikni ni mato yo mares.
So it's for these two reasons that the mouse ventured onto the mousetrap and died. Aside from these two reasons, there are no others.
Teni ngarang cho tarta teni ngachu me cho teni khamsum khorwa ngana la teni ro gimsen de kain zeni teni samlo tangona yang chigbare.
And it's the same for why it is that we remain spinning in cyclic existence. There are no more than two reasons.
Tani tangbo nga so tari kong la shapa tere nga so tani jitin chi ndo chi yin ko yo mare nga so rang sim ti chi yin ha ko yo mare nga so rang dak zia ti chi yin ha ko yo mare tani hamakui Gimsengi reta tontak tambo nga so makui gimsen re gimsen chigre.
So the first of these reasons is again a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding of the world, of cyclic existence, a lack of understanding of our minds, of the nature of self.
Teni gimsen nipati kangarizina teni mashipi gimsengi teni nga so korwandela teni jimba ke yore nga so korwandi nangla yopi teni Tsama la teni sim ko tola teni jimba mambo ke yore te indi teni nga so gongla shapi teni pena mulum ko kapsa nga so kumma teni kushi batang teni zge teni shanglip ko tok shazawa o teni tan rapo res.
And then the second reason is our attachment or clinging to cyclic existence. And this attachment and clinging is the same as the desire to steal in the dream or the mouse's desire to eat the meat on the mousetrap.
Teni ta ti indi nga so korwalang koryate ti indi teni so ti teni gikin nipoti ta Ganga Tolandig, nga so League Tolandig ta, nga so Sim Tolandig, teni te samlo tango re.
So, in respect of these two causes and conditions, we need to give thought to whether these are reasons that pertain to our minds or to our bodies.
조 건거 통란득 삼건도 생각하고 그 지kin이 보대 가서 리보 통란득 가서 셈거 통란득.
What does everybody think about this? Do you think that these two reasons pertain mainly to our bodies or pertain mainly to our minds?
야, 셈. 야, 셈거 통란득 생각도 레세 다대 가서 당보 마시 바래 마고 와래 때 가서 셈거 마고 와래 마도 리보 마고 와마래 되니 니방 가서 되니 ngubotelan dopache gareteni dobayanga to simre mato bateni lipomare simre.
So everyone is saying mind, and yes, this is the case. Firstly, our lack of understanding of the world, of our minds, of ourself. This is a lack of understanding in our minds. And similarly, the second reason, our attachment or our desire, this is also something that is given rise to in our minds.
다 딘디인데 가서더니 가충 코로아가 나랑 코로야 그더니 지킨 쪼쪼데 땡 가서 심고 돌아요 바데더니 다 가서 하고서 앞에나 가서 만큼 가나라 손에 딱신 만보 접접접접 그 지니 더니 코랑라 낫 요사 그더니 낫 용위 김슨데 강 하고서 한다고 시니 더니 다 가서 나랑 코로아가 나랑 코리아 그 지킨티 나랑 그 심고 돌란두 삼바데 대 하고서 말이.
So that these two causes and conditions pertain to our mind or exist at the level of the mind is something that we need to understand. And this recognition or this understanding is similar to a doctor examining a patient over and over to discover the primary reason or the root cause of their illness. And so for this reason, what we need to do then is to change our mind or to make changes at the level of our minds. So we first came to an understanding that the two reasons for our continued spinning in cyclic existence pertain to our mind or operate at the level of our mind. So therefore, in eliminating these reasons, we have to also do this by addressing our minds.
Teni shertang nga tso tari gong la teni jikin nindu uzi ni shayo pare, teni shikte teni nga tso mashi pare, nite nga tso teni ndo pare, teni rezi ni shayo. Teni ki nani jang tsa ngo ma te mashi pade re, karte nga tso shi sona, teni ndo pade korang ranshi ke mepa chakare.
Of these two primary reasons that we just mentioned, first, not understanding, and secondly, desire. The primary reason of these two is the first one, not understanding. Because if we, in fact, did understand, if we did have a proper recognition or understanding, then desire would be eliminated of and by itself. So what is the first thing that we need to do in terms of addressing the level of our mind? The first thing that we need to do is to eliminate our ignorance.
Teni parandro nenge lakpa ga teni gormola ta thla shep ko pi kaps teni nge mulum yamba shisona teni lamsang nga dopa de mendo re.
So we could say that this is in eliminating this desire, it would be just like in a dream, where we give rise to the desire to steal, we stretch out our hand, and in the very moment that our hand touches the bag, if we were at that instant to realize that we were dreaming, then in an instant the desire to steal would disappear.
마르바디 메바시고요. 레 심고토니 마르바제나 마시바레더니 츠와레 데 메바시고요.
So the first thing we need to do then is to eliminate our ignorance, and by ignorance we mean a lack of understanding, delusion.
더니 마르바디 메바시고나 당아서 가리고 오지나 되니 가서 대랑 것이야 파르신 지근나니 되니 삼던당 시럽 타마티니 고래.
So if we are going to go about eliminating our ignorance, we need to have a method for doing so. And it's in respect of this that we are going to address we're going to go back to the 6 perfections that we were speaking about on the first night and speak specifically about the perfection of meditative concentration and the perfection of wisdom.
드네 삼던다더니 시럽제 드네 가서 파르신 찌근나니 지마데니레 드니 데니 건 데니 그티니 니바디 카레요즈나 드니 삼던데 가서 곰나 드니 가서 따탄다 보나 페나 가서 셈가나라 드니 뇨자 mambo 요레 드니 자마라 mambo 요레 드니 티소 칼레 칼레마르 메바차네 드니 가서 셈테 페나 드니 파르드니 남톡 mambo 메바차카레 페나 치뇨마 치드니 사당 산지용 그거더니 치뇨마지나 드니 코나 가서 노카가나라더니 르니 데 마기니 자자나 드니 칼레 치데 코랑 땅모 창도 그래 더 딘자 보레.
So these 2 perfections, the perfection of meditative concentration and the perfection of wisdom, these are the latter 2 of the 6 perfections, and their function or their power is essentially, well, the first in respect of meditative concentration. Generally, our minds, they're turbulent, they're beset with all kinds of problems. And so meditative concentration is what enables us to get rid of these, to essentially free ourselves of discursive thought and negative thoughts and emotions. So it's rather like turbid water or water that is very dirty. If we were to pour it into a vessel and to let the earth and sediment settle, then we would finally end up with very still and clear water.
드니 치디 뇨마 임비캅스 드니 가서 치거나라 따나 드니 치거 올라 간디요데 통탑고 말에 드니 치디 칼레 코랑 데 파르 땅모리 차비 지니 드니 가서 치거나라 따나 치거 올라 간디 사로 통탑거리.
So when the water is still is turbid and unclear, when we look into it, we can't see the bottom. However, once it has become pure and transparent, then when we look into it, we can see the bottom.
Tini tetan rapore ngatsu tarta ngatsu semti nangla tini namtok mambo yore tini ndochak chegre jedang chegre ngarjero chadok tini tini markepa yang semga nangla nonshik mambo yong semser mambo yong tini shiwi kapsa tini ngatsu semti chi nyokman rapore ti kapsa ngatsu soso rang semti kanti yin tsawane ngatsu shitab ka mare.
So our minds, as they currently stand, are beset with all kinds of thoughts and all kinds of afflictions, desire, jealousy, pride, worries, pressure, etc. So our minds are really like turbid water, and while they're in this state, it's not possible for us to understand their nature.
Teni sim nyokmate teni mar tangmo teni regona teni ngacho samtan te gom gogore Jerni gomne teni shina teni ngacho namtok mambo yoade kale mar teni chechong drone teni thar ngacho semte par tamo teni shine teni yen rambola teni dena detam ken teni yongore tela ngacho jerni te tambo gom gogore.
So just as in order to purify this water or to purify our minds, it is necessary that we cultivate meditative concentration through the practice of shamatha meditation. And by engaging in this kind of meditative practice, it's possible for us to bring our discursive thought activity to gradually reduce our thought activity until we can rest in a calm and still state for a relatively long period of time. And it's necessary for us to practice and cultivate shamatha meditation in order to do this.
Teni jirni gomne teni semte tambo chak sarwi jini teni tazo ngaso semte kandizre teni soso tagore.
And so once we have been able to bring ourselves into a still and clear state through shamatha practice, at this point we are finally in a position to look into our minds and understand their nature.
Teni jeni gumsirti so teni nga tsu tarung rimbajin de teni lojong she go ndu ma to ba nga tsu terang da won teni nyima chigna la njotub ko mare terang nga tsu tso te nga tsu jeni gum gu gimsin chere teni nga tsu teni sherab teni gum gu gimsin chere ti gimsin te nga tsu terang ya boz shi go re.
As for the actual practice of shamatha meditation, this is something that needs to be learned step by step. And in the space of one night's teaching, it's not possible for us to go into this. So primarily what we are really addressing tonight is the reason that we need to practice shamatha meditation, and similarly the reason that we need to cultivate wisdom through meditative practice.
Teni nga tsu terang di nang la titsun di nang la teni shatso titsun mundu teni nga tsu sangin teni nga tsu yang sacha jamba zula teni chachat nga ro shujo yori te karte khumbayo na nga di nang la shakayin.
So tonight, due to time constraints, we're not able to go into the actual techniques or the method of shamatha meditation. However, tomorrow I'm giving a teaching at another location in the morning and in the afternoon, and if anyone is interested in learning further, then they can come and listen to this teaching.
Teni jirni te teni gumsirta teni lojong yakbo shini teni gumna teni ngatsu semte yakbo tangmo da ore yongore teni tangmo imbi kapte teni ngatsu chitana teni ngatsu sem ga tang ngoma te teni dang ngoma te hako ore tatan ra boyna ngatsu sim ga ngatsu ina sim ga tang ngoma te chin ri ngatsu tawane hako yo ma such go mare ji ngatsu tarta ina pe na nam to mamboyo o ngarang sim la teni dumur yongya yana sim la teni dewa tang sim la kepa ta teni yongya te so changma khorang ga sim ga teni khasun ra o te ri tang te mare ji ti tang te kan ri hako go yo re.
So through cultivating shamatha practice and bringing our minds into a clear and still state, it's possible for us to look to our minds and to see the deepest level of our minds. This is not something that anyone in our current situation is able to do. At the moment, our minds are full of various thoughts, various afflictions, emotions, suffering, happiness, etc. Yet all of these things really exist on the surface of our minds. As to the deepest levels of the mind, this is not something we are currently able to perceive or know.
Teni ngatsu sim tang ngomati kanti zirezina perna namkanda boreze gore siti ngatsu tabachimbo go teni jongo nala mambo songore teni ngatsu simti tabachimbo go jong sherbi paroto shimba nala mambo songore ngatsu mi sim go teni tang ngomati perna namka tongbanda go teni zin songore.
So this the deepest layer of our minds, or the deepest level of our minds, is like the sky. It is often said in the Mahayana sutras, particularly in the Prajnaparamitra literature, that the mind is like the sky in its deepest nature.
Perna namka go teni to nangla teni chimba damra mambo yongore teni olongje gore teni charbab gore teni chimba te solayang teni nyimachika nala ngerwa mambo teni ndore teni je reti ina teni namka khorangla teni ngerwa yo mare.
So in terms of the sky, many clouds pass across it. There is wind, there is rain every day, many changes in cloud formations. However, the sky itself doesn't evince any change. It remains as it is.
Tani yang kyabarda tani namka tani pena nambab tani namka tani namshi dugbo yimbi kapsi tani nga so satong ni tana tani nam ngumbun thunga yaw mare nimadang dawa won thunga yaw mare tani namka tamshi nakbo tani thunga yaw re. Yinna yang tani nga so ti kapsi kati tani namjinra wo tani chika nanglandani tani chimba ga tholanto ni chika tana tani namka la ngerwa chichi song yaw mare korang hama rapo shini tani ngumbo shini dede yaw re.
So when the weather is bad, when it's raining, we're not able to see the blue sky. We're not able to see any light at all. The sky appears black and dark to us. However, if we were able to get in an aeroplane and soar up above the clouds, then we would discover that in fact the sky has not changed at all. It is as it always has been.
Tani nga chu sem ga na la ma ke ba yong ni tani ha le ba ga nam tong ra man ra mang bu yong tani chu lang o tani ha le ba ga tani sim ga na la min bar wan ra o tani yong I kap se tani karti ti kap se nga chu te ze pharn ro ni mar ding ni tani gum te ze jap thap sona sem la tani shi ta thap sona tani nga chu trim ba ga thola so ni nam kha thong ra o nam zhe ga na ni so
if in a time of extreme unhappiness or an extremely strong sense of anger, so strong that it feels like a fire is raging inside us, if at this kind of moment we are able to sit down in meditation and examine our mind a bit, it is possible that we will gain a sense like an airplane going above the clouds to discover what the sky is like.
Tani ti kapsa nga so tani shetang namjin nga so la te sim ka na la khongchu lang wi kapsa tani nga so hale ba nga so tani shin nan do pa te ka re jena tani mala gyam na sam go yore yang na mala tani shi tang na sam go yore te nga so do pa ngoma te nga so shawa jim do pa te tere gum gyapa te ti kapsa nga so do ka mare je ta mandu na kar te nga so tani so rang la tani zambu shi ni ti kapsa gom se gyap thap sona tani tine kapsa nga so tani ta nam tong ram mambo yong ya te so chama tini nga so pe na nam kha khorang la na la me tini ola di pi tini chin na bon ra o yimba te khorang sa un thong ro re.
So when we are in the midst of anger, our greatest desire is to do something like punch someone or scold them. In the heat of our anger, we've got very little desire to sit down and meditate. Despite the fact that we don't have a great desire to meditate, if we could or if we're able to do so, then we will discover that these strong thoughts and strong emotions are just like clouds that gather beneath the surface of the sky.
Teni ti kapsanga chukarti tindism thong sona teni nyima teni zonte nga rancho nyumomba la chakamare ten nyumomba dochakona chakamare jirdang yona chakamare ngarjer yona chakamare tarong yang nyumomba dochakta jirdang da ngarjer ti so yung grezi yona ante nga chakamare ti nga ti kapsa gum gyabjana teni chama me ba chakare.
And if we're able to see this, then from this point onwards, we'll no longer have any fear for our afflictions. We won't have any fear for anger. We won't have any fear for desire or for pride. So even though these emotions may continue to arise, we'll no longer have fear for them. We will be able to sit down in meditation, and these strong thoughts and afflictive emotions will subside.
Tani ti kapsa nga chu machindi na la nga chu chowa na ni tani chi nyota da manda mambo yongya ta tani chowa na ni susorang ga tani dopa makhang wa ta tani shawa lamro mayong wa ta tani da manda mambo yong ni tani mambo yong de ya te so thamje po tani malam ra wo yamba tani ha kon ro re.
And through this, it will be possible for us to realize that in this life of ours, our many problems, the various desires that we're not able to satisfy, our perceived bad luck and misfortune are all just like a dream.
Tini ti kapsa ta ngarang ka mulam magandu samba ngarang ka mulam magandu samba te tini korang ka konjo gore tini ko sona tini nga cho tari ko la shapati en mulam ka nala nga cho gormo Kasamni lakpa thula she ko pikarsa ta malum yamba shisona tene nga so lamsang tene ta kasam bindo payang yogo mare lakpa ga leng ka mare tendra bore ne tene ti phanchu ne nga so tene ta nyomu ba kang yang tene no pa me pa tene yong thap gare.
And so in understanding that I'm dreaming, just understanding this will be just like in the dream upon our hand touching the bag as we go to steal the money, realizing that we're in a dream, our desire immediately and instantly disappears. And so in this way, our various afflictions and negative emotions will disappear of their own accord too.
Teni ti kapsa teni hakon roya tela, teni sherab ki paruto shemba ze paruto shemba trignani jima tere.
And this understanding, or the moment that we understand, this understanding is what we refer to as wisdom, the final of the 6 perfections.
Hote indi ngacho terang ngacho dina yongkeng ge me chama teni to me teni lonyong yenandra, garge yenandra, kiba yenandra, pume yenandra, ngacho chama ge musudang si yenna, garde ngacho gum gyamna, ngacho mususu me chama ndandra re teni ngacho di dindawi sherab te ngacho la thub kres.
Everyone here tonight, regardless of whether you're young or you're old, whether you're a woman or whether you're a man, regardless of who you are, if you engage in meditation, it is possible for you to attain this wisdom. This is something that everyone is equal in their capacity to realize.
Teni ti ngacho kati ti thola te chomba shi thapsona, teni ngacho perna chowa ga thola ngacho namgin teni kavli javya tendis ka pena gacha nga rapo tendis di thola teni ti pesho tang thapna ti thola kavli jav thapna teni ngacho indamanda ti sherab tendis ka thola lep thap ka tendi ki sherab ta ngacho la thop thop kare.
양자 손을 촉함.
ngacho pena chowa ga thola teni ti kavli javya ti gacha nga rapo teni ngacho nyamling ka thola teni pesho tangna.
So if we were able to invest just 5% of our total life energies into achieving this realization, it is possible that we could realize this wisdom. So in terms of us as individuals, our values, our value systems are extremely important.
Teni ngacho muskila sanlo tana masindi nala ngacho la goya mambo yore ngacho pe nan jiktim bazina teni ngacho la goya mambo yo ngacho la pe na wangcha ngacho la yona sam go yore ngacho la nyantra yona sam gore ngacho la teni ngupo longshu yona sam gore te sama ngacho la yona sam gore riti ti sama nani karchishu chite ngacho la goya ngomati sherbtere.
So in this life, there are many potential things that we may want or perceive that we need. As ordinary mortal beings, we may think that we need power, fame, material enjoyment, and so forth. However, among all of the things that we need, the most important is wisdom.
Teni sheripte yakbozo sona teni ngarang soso rang teni sim ge thola yo pi teni naton thamje po sheripti takchu shitab kare.
Once we have truly cultivated wisdom, then wisdom itself or wisdom alone will be able to address all of the problems that arise at the level of our minds.
Teni ti thola ngacho nyangji de gore teni nyangji da ngacho tari kongla she bi shangship ke semre te yo sona teni ngacho soso rang nyom momba mepa shi thapa matset teni simchen jamba nam go teni nyom momba yang teni mepa shi thap gore teni te ni te yo sona teni ta phansam soba re gore.
So in addition to wisdom, we also need to cultivate compassion. As we mentioned at the beginning of tonight's teaching, the cultivation of bodhicitta. So according to this, in addition to understanding how to eliminate our own afflictions, we are therefore also able to go about helping others in eliminating their afflictions too. So with both of wisdom and compassion, we can truly live a life of splendid flourishing.
Teni ngacho perna 왕차 옛날에 냔자가 옛날에 때니 가서 때니 응우보고 롱슈 옛날에 가서 때서 정말 요나 삼고요래 때 요나 초코래 가서 때 요나 때 자원에 요 초코 말이 때니 제가 말에 배나 가서 낭추라 옛나 때서 자원에 르 초코 말때 지경 요 초코 말이 때니 제가 말에 때 요나 안 그래지 레티티 토라 따롱 요 고양 뭐마데 그래지나 때니 가서 냥지당 시럽 때니까 때니 때니도 자원에 메나 문득 받든지래.
So things like power and fame and material riches are things that everybody wants. Of course, if we have them, this is okay. It's no one is saying that we are not permitted to have them or to enjoy them. This is not something that Buddhism says that we're not allowed to pursue or enjoy any of these things at all. However, in addition, or rather more importantly, we really need wisdom and compassion. These are the two things that we really can't afford to be without.
냔자가 돈다 되니 우보고 롱슈고 돈라 가서 까블리 mambo 잡 되니 강을 mambo 차수시 까블리 mambo 잡 티손 mambo 티톨라 되니 땅 된디시니 된디시기요레 리테 인나 니마스치글라 되니 가서 왕차양 되니 가서라 되니 더 판바메 되니 냔자 양 가서라 판바메 되니 우보고 양 가서라 판바메 가서 강바침보요나 띵가솔라 판바미 랑코리약 보요나 판바미 니칸가나라 골모몬 보요나 판바미 찍찍 그 판바미 비든지 니마찍 가솔라 용거레스 띵가소 때랑 용컨금미 참말라 용거레스.
So power, fame, material riches, etc., these are things that we work so hard for. We strive, we expend a great deal of energy, and we really invest a lot of time in achieving and pursuing these things. However, there will come one day when all the power we have will be of no benefit, the fame we have will be of no benefit to us, and our riches will be of no benefit too. Having a big house won't help us, a nice car won't help us, money in the bank won't help us too. None of these things will be of any assistance to us at this point. And this day is one that will come for each and every one of us here.
Tani nga chun chuaga nangla namgin nga chun chuaga nangla simcher mambo shikiyori ta nga maung bala tani nga shawa lamdru mandru wanta tani susu nat nawatang ya tini ramdra eyong samni simcher mambo shikiyori reti yinna nga chu tini simcher shiya tisu nani jachab dunchit 용구요 마 동구 돌아 자와네 용구 말에 마 수수수 랑거 심칠 잠레 마도 바 동구 돌아 용구요 말이지 자샵 든치드.
We in our lives have a lot of anxiety and concern about things that might befall us in the future, whether or not we will encounter misfortune, whether we'll get sick, etc. However, most of the things that we worry about, indeed 70% of the things that we worry about, won't actually eventuate. They're just worries and concerns that we have.
Teni yinna nga chu tari kongla shapi nima chikpote te nga chu jachab ja yongore mi chamala yongore te eyong meyong mare te yongore.
However, this one day that we will all face that I just spoke of is something that will happen for 100% of us. There is no question whatsoever about whether or not it will happen. It certainly will.
Teni di kaps ta nga chu kandishi gore teni tela samlo tangrochi.
And what then do we need to do in the face of this? This is something that we all need to give thought to. So that brings to an end tonight's teaching.
Oma ahom banzang ge ba ma se de hong. Oma ahom banzang ge ba ma se de hong. Oma ahom banzang ge bama sada